Maya Alvarez was 22 when her life derailed. She had grown up in Houston's East End, the daughter of Mexican immigrants who worked 2 jobs apiece just to keep the lights on. Maya had fought for everything: scholarships, night shifts at the bookstore, a chance at college. She was studying criminal justice, hoping to work with at-risk kids. Ironically, she often told friends, "If you know your rights, the system can't break you." That belief shattered the night officers came pounding on her door. A neighbor had been robbed and badly assaulted. The victim, disoriented, terrified, concussed, told police she thought the attacker was a young Latina with long dark hair. Maya fit the description. Within minutes, she was in handcuffs, her little brother watching in stunned silence as she was led away. At the station, Maya insisted she was at work. She had clocked out just before midnight, 2 miles away. There were cameras. There were co-workers. But detectives brushed her off. When she asked for a lawyer, one of them leaned close and said, "Lawyers can't help guilty people." The prosecution's case was thin, but juries rarely see thin. They see certainty dressed up in exhibits. They heard about a scarf found blocks away from the scene, a simple patterned scarf that supposedly belonged to Maya. She denied ever seeing it, but the image stuck, a piece of clothing linking her to violence. The victim testified too, voice trembling, eyes darting toward Maya in the courtroom. "It was her. I know it was her." Experts know eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable under trauma, but the jury didn't. Maya's lawyer, a court-appointed overworked public defender, failed to present the alibi evidence clearly. Surveillance footage that could have proved her location at the bookstore was missing. The security company cited a technical malfunction. It was all enough. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty. 10 years in state prison. Maya sobbed as deputies led her away. She kept thinking, "I am 22 years old, and my life is over." Prison life wore her down. The clang of metal doors. The fights that broke out in the cafeteria. The cold eyes of guards who saw inmates as numbers, not people. Nights were the worst, lying awake on a thin mattress, hearing distant screams, replaying the trial in her head. Yet, Maya fought to keep her spirit alive. She read law books from the prison library. She wrote letters, to reporters, to innocence organizations, to lawyers who might take her case. Most were ignored. Some came back stamped, "Not within our scope." But she kept writing, 100 letters if necessary, because hope was the only thing that kept her breathing. 3 years in, a response finally came. Jordan Patel, a young social justice lawyer, visited her. He specialized in wrongful convictions and had stumbled upon Maya's case while researching patterns of faulty eyewitness identifications. "Maya," he told her during their first meeting across the thick glass, "I can't promise miracles. But I believe you. And belief is the first step." Together, they clawed at the system's cracks. Jordan discovered the scarf had been logged into evidence before the reported robbery occurred. The timestamp was off by nearly 2 hours, suggesting it was planted or misfiled. He also subpoenaed the security company that handled the bookstore's cameras. Buried in their records was proof. The footage wasn't lost to a glitch. It had been manually disabled. By coincidence, or not, the officer who arrested Maya was moonlighting for that same company. When Jordan confronted the DA's office with the evidence, he was stonewalled. "Clerical error," they said. "Irrelevant." Witnesses who had initially identified Maya began to express doubts privately but feared retraction meant perjury charges. Jordan pressed harder. He found another co-worker willing to testify. She had seen Maya at the bookstore the entire evening. But this testimony had never been requested in the original trial. Finally, Jordan filed an appeal, presenting the suppressed evidence, the compromised police officer, and the falsified chain of custody. It was a mountain of corruption disguised as justice. After weeks of hearings, the appellate judge overturned Maya's conviction. The courtroom was silent when the words came, "The conviction is vacated." Maya trembled as shackles were removed. She stepped into daylight for the first time as a free woman in over 3 years. The media swarmed. Her story made headlines, "Young woman freed after wrongful conviction." But Maya couldn't celebrate fully. She had lost precious years. She had entered prison a girl in her 20s, and she walked out carrying scars invisible to the cameras. Maya sued the city and won a modest settlement, But money didn't heal. What she craved was accountability. The officer faced no charges, the prosecutor still worked cases, the system marched on. Yet Maya refused to stay silent. She became an advocate, speaking at universities, rallies, and panels about wrongful convictions. She told students, "The system is not broken, it was built this way. And if it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone." At night, when she lay in her small apartment surrounded by books and the quiet she once longed for, Maya sometimes woke sweating, certain she could still hear the slam of prison doors. Freedom, she realized, is complicated when injustice leaves its mark. Still, she fought. Because her story was no longer just hers, it belonged to everyone who had ever been swallowed by the system and left to claw their way back.